నేను మళ్ళీ ఫోన్ చేస్తాను. పాటలు అవుతున్నాయి, ఆరతవుతాను.
జయ కృష్ణ జయ గోవింద గోపినాథ శ్రీ గోవింద గోపీనాథ శ్రీ గోవింద గోపీనాథ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन श्याम कुंद राधा गिरि गोवर्धन श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद गिरि गोवर्धन कालिंदी जमुना जय जय कालिंदी जमुना जय जय महादा जय राधे जय कृष्ण जय वृंदावन राधे जय कृष्ण जय वृंदावन श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ
నాదా మదన మోహ
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama
Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna
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 Krishna,
Hare
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 Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Rama Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Hare Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha. Shri Madhusudan, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, Giridhari Gopinath Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohan, Hariharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Hariharaya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha, Yadavaya Madhavaya Kesavaya Namaha,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
महाराज
Jai,
आनंद ज्योति वैष्णव वृंद की
Jai,
आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की
Jai,
नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की
Jai,
प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत वेदांत श्रीवास आदि गौर
Jai,
श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंद राधा कुंद की
Jai,
गोवर्धन की
Jai,
गोवर्धन की
Jai,
वृंदावन धाम की जय
Jai,
माया को धाम
Jai,
गंगा देवी जमुना देवी तुलसी देवी भक्ति की जय
Jai,
सर्वदेवता भक्त वृंद की जय
Jai,
और प्रेमानंद
Hare Krishna,
all glory is to the
Hare
Assembly.
Krishna,
All glory is to the Assembly.
Hare Krishna.
All glory to Sri Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga Hari Hari Gauranga. Namaste Simhaya.
Namaste Nare Simhaya.
Namaste Simhaya.
Namaste Nare Simhaya. Namaste Narasimhaya. Ela, ela, Kasi Shila Tankana Kala Ito Nasimha Yato Yato Narasimha Badim Saranam Prapadye Narasimha Badim Saranam Prapadye
నీ వీడియో వచ్చేస్తుంది
పెట్టేస్తాను
జస్ట్ వీడియో ఆఫ్ చేయి విను
ఓకే
బాయ్
Jai Jagadisha Hare Namaste Maya. Hare Krishna, everyone. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Krishna Krishna.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Hare Rama.
Hare Ram.
Hare Rama.
Hare Ram.
Rama Rama.
Rama Ram.
Hare Hare.
Hare Hare.
Happy Govardhana Puja to everyone. Hare Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki
Jai.
So it's a very festive occasion today. We're celebrating the pastime of Lord Krishna lifting Govardhan Puja, or lifting Govardhan Hill, and the performing of puja to the great hill Govardhan. We're going to hear about this pastime in just a minute from His Grace Vishnu Gada Prabhu. But before that, I just want to mention a couple things, because some of you may not be here by the end of the lecture, and it'd be great if you are, but if you have to leave, I want to make sure that you get a chance to, one time at least, come up here and circumambulate, circle around Govardhan. That is a form of worshiping, and it's not different than worshiping Krishna. And on this day, it is recommended for your spiritual advancement and for your spiritual benefit to worship Govardhan. Those that are out there on Zoom and YouTube, earlier on, I walked around Govardhan. So if you were watching, you got a chance to circumambulate as well. If not, there'll be other times throughout the day or evening that we'll be able to do that. Another thing I want to mention that I would like to have everybody's attention for this. Because we're in a time, we're still in a pandemic, we have to be very careful about the way we interact with one another. Throughout the night, we're basically maxed out of how many people we can fit in the temple room. And that brings a lot of sadness to people. People that come from a distance, they say, I want to come in, I came from a distance, or they come to see. So people will be able to come and take darshan, but they won't be able to necessarily sit down unless room opens up. So don't encourage somebody to come and sit down next to them if they can. We're really trying to keep everybody safe, the residents that live here safe, the devotees that visit here like yourself safe. So please just help in the process of making that happen. Another thing that we request the devotees not to do is something that we're actually told to do at all times, and that is bow down to the Lord. So taking our head and bowing down to the Lord, that's something that we're trained to do as devotees. But in order to keep you safe and the people around you safe, we're trying to minimize the contact that we have with objects, and that includes the floor. So a good way to do this is that you can offer manaseva, which is service in the mind. So you can bow down from your mind. So you can bow down in your mind and do it as well and get just as much benefit. So I wish I didn't have to tell you that, but I want to keep each and every one of us safe. The other thing is there's a way to wear a mask. So we have different ways that people wear masks. We have the beard mask that people wear like this to protect your beard from getting coronavirus. We got the half mask where we get kind of part of the mouth, and then we get the full mask. So here at ISKCON of Philadelphia, we like to wear the full mask, again, for everybody's safety. Now, every once in a while, you'll see somebody leading kirtan, and they don't have it. That's an exception, because the person has to give a lot of energy to do that. But other than that, if you're not leading kirtan, you're not giving the class, we ask that you do the full mask. And if you do a full mask, it's actually 3 for 1. You get your beard, you get your mouth, and your nose. Okay, so at this point, we want to hand it over. We want to ask His Grace Vishnu Gada Prabhu. Sean, do you mind getting the equipment here and moving it over in front of Vishnu? We've got the seat and then we're going to be, unlike the other nights, we're going to be broadcasting through Zoom and YouTube throughout the night. So in addition to the class, there'll be kirtans for you to listen to throughout the night.
If we could have, I don't know if it's possible to have Bhagavad Gita 7th chapters, 22nd verse on the 7th. Welcome, everybody. Thank you so very much for coming. We're going to be Adhava means all glories to Radharani, and Madhava. Madhava means the husband of the goddess of fortune, yeah, Krishna. Gopi Jana Vallabha, Gopi Jana Vallabha, the one who gives pleasure to the Gopi Janas, the life and pleasure of the gopis. Gopi Jana means the cowherd people. Giri Varadhari. You know that word? That word Giri Varadhari? What's that? Giri is a hill. Giri, Bora. Bora means big hill, very good hill, very important hill. Bora, like in India, they'll say Boro Bhai and Choto Bhai. Boro means big brother. Yeah, Choto is little brother. So Giri Boro Dhari. He held up the big hill of Govardhan. Yashodanandana, Brajajana Ranjana. He gave pleasure to Mother Yashoda and all the residents of Braj, Vrindavan. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. And he wandered along the banks of the Jamuna and the forests and thickets there. He took pleasure. That's all Krishna. So we'll sing that, and hopefully you'll know, you'll follow. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Pranachari. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paribrajak Acharya Ashtottara Sata Shishyaman's Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham ki jai. Ganga Devi ki jai. Jamuna Mai ki jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Hari Hari Bol. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutare Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. My glasses are getting steamed up because of this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. We're going to speak today about Lord Krishna's activity or pastime of lifting Govardhan Hill. I was hoping we would get a Bhagavad Gita verse, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I'll just read it. We have this very advanced technology, but it doesn't work. This is Bhagavad Gita, 7th chapter, 22nd verse. I'll chant it, then we'll do this word by word. And etc. Sataya Shwadhaya Yuktas Tasyaradham Vihate Labate Chatata Kaman Mayaiva Vihitan Hitan. Sataya Shwadhaya Yuktas Tasyaradhanam Ihate Labhate Chatata Kaman Mayaiva Vihitan Hitan. Have you heard this verse before from Bhagavad Gita? 7th chapter, okay. The translation, endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod. If we have conversation, should be outside. He endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires. But in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Do you know who's speaking here? Yeah. So what was the, did you get the gist of that? What was that? What was the gist of that verse? Anybody catch that, or would you just, what's that? Yeah, good, very good, very good. Thank you for sharing that. That even though a person may approach a particular demigod or semigod or person to get certain benefits, ultimately that they can't do anything without the sanction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Mayaiva vihitan hitan is this there. Okay, then I'll read the purport. The demigods, what demigods are we talking about? Yeah, there's so many. Some people are worshiping Lakshmi, or Ganapati, or Lord Shiva, or well, there's so many 33 crores of demigods, and people worship them at different times, different places. People were just worshiping Durga a short time back. The demigods cannot award benediction to their devotees without permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by his arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not the sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity, and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. Because there's a difference between Krishna and the demigods, you know this? Lord Krishna generally doesn't give his devotees something that's not good for them. Whereas the demigods may give whatever it is they're asking, and that might ultimately be a cause of their problem. So there's a difference. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods of the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Lord. The correct understanding of this Bhagavad Gita verse, that was the end of the purport. Okay, good. You got that? You with me? Okay, good. The correct understanding of this Bhagavad Gita verse was further explained and demonstrated by Lord Krishna while he was present on this earth planet. You know how he did that? Any ideas? What's that? Very good. By this Govardhana pastime. By his passing the Govardhana mountain. Krishna says earlier in Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yoveti tatvata. If you can really understand the deep meaning, the deep philosophical meaning of his appearance and his activities, what happens? Tyaktva deham punar janma naiti mameshi sarjuna. After you give up this body, you don't get another body, but you go back home, back to Godhead. Although Lord Krishna's activities can be appreciated by young and old people alike, and also on different levels, they're not children's stories, fiction, or merely symbolic at all. They're highly philosophical truths that should be studied carefully for proper understanding. So we're going to read from this book called the Krishna book. Some of you seen this book before. It's a summary study of a book called the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the graduate study of Bhagavad Gita. And today, does anybody not have this Krishna book here in this? Who doesn't have it? Raise your hand. It's okay. Very good. Very good. If you'd like to get it today, you can get one for $1. There's a certain person who financed this. So if you like you to get this, your copy, $1 outside. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna. It's very interesting. We're gonna read this for a little bit, and then we'll do some comments, etc., etc. But so this is starting in chapter 24. The chapter is called "Worshipping Govardhan Hill." While engaged with the Brahmanas, who were too much involved in the performance of Vedic sacrifices, Krishna and Balaram also saw that the cowherd men were preparing a similar sacrifice in order to pacify Indra, the king of heaven, who is responsible for supplying water. So there's a little background here. There's a little background. And that was Krishna and Balaram had gone out with their friends early in the morning. At this time, Lord Krishna was about seven years old. Of course, he's eternal, but in his current appearance, he was 7. And the cowherd boys, it was time for their lunch, and they were getting a little hungry, but they didn't bring stuff for them to eat. So Lord Krishna knew, because he's omniscient, there were some Brahmins, some priests nearby, and they were performing a ritualistic ceremony. And there was just at the time during the ceremony when prasad would be distributed. So he said, why don't you go there? Why don't you go there and ask them for some remnants of that prasad, so to sacrifice. Prasadam means mercy, but it also means the remnants that have been of food that's been first offered to God. So that food is especially transcendental, spiritually purifying, and devotees, they like to take that food only. So anyway, the cowherd boys, they said, okay. So they went there and they said, Krishna and Balaram are nearby, and they asked us to come there and beg if you can give us a little bit of prasad, Toda prasad, a little bit. So you know what the Brahmin said in response? What's that? They didn't even say that. They didn't even say that. They just ignored them. 7 years old little kids, kids coming in there saying, please give us something. And they just ignored them. He said, forget it. They didn't even respond. But finally the boys fell down at their feet and said, oh earthly gods, you please forget it. They said that finally they said no, as you said, yes. So here it is. The whole purpose of sacrifice. The purpose of sacrifice of yajna is to satisfy Krishna. Bhoktaram jagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam shantim richchiti. So the purpose of the sacrifice they were doing was to satisfy Krishna. That was the whole purpose. And here Krishna is coming, give us something, and they won't do it. This is called niyamagraha. Niyamagraha is a certain mistake that people perform in their spiritual attempts to make progress. And they become too attached to the rituals without understanding the purpose behind the ritual. You follow? Yeah, so they want to go through the motions, but the purpose of those motions, there's a certain purpose to the motion, and they forget that. So that's exactly what happened with the Brahmins. But then there was Krishna finally got their wives to give them prasad. So it was the whole thing. So here, a very simple thing, a very similar thing is happening, but this time it's not with some Brahmins, that Lord Krishna hadn't met before, but this was with his own family members and friends, the cowherd men. Nanda Maharaj, you know who Nanda Maharaj is? Nanda Maharaj is the foster father of Krishna. So anyway, this is a big deal. Okay. As stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, a devotee of Krishna has strong and firm faith in understanding that if he is simply engaged in Krishna's transcendental service, then he is freed from all other obligations. That's a heavy statement. A pure devotee of Lord Krishna doesn't have to perform any of the ritualistic functions enjoined in the Vedas, nor is he required to worship any demigod. Being a devotee of Lord Krishna, one is understood to have performed all kinds of Vedic rituals and all kinds of worship of demigods. So the verse is there in Bhagavad Gita, Yavan Artha Udapane Sarvata Samplutoduke. In India, if you live in a village, did anybody live in a village from India here? A few people maybe. All from city people? Anyway, they have one well for washing dishes, one well for washing clothes, one well for drinking water, etc. like that. One word for taking bath. And according, each different well it has a particular purpose. But you can satisfy all the purposes of all the wells if you go to the big flowing river. Isn't it? There's all the purposes. So Krishna says this. If you understand the purpose behind all the rituals, all the Vedas, and you do that, then all the other little things are satisfied. So if you have $1 million, your $5 and $10 problems are solved. So that is what Krishna is going to be recommending. So we'll read about that. In order to, one does not develop devotional service for Krishna by performing the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or worshiping demigods, but it should be understood that one who is engaged fully in the service of the Lord has already fulfilled all Vedic injunctions. So the purpose of all the Vedic injunctions is to come to Krishna consciousness, devotional service, and to develop love of God. So Krishna, in order to stop all such activities by his devotees, he wanted to firmly establish exclusive devotional service during his presence in Vrindavan, because he is the omniscient personality of Godhead. Krishna knew that the cowherd men were preparing for an Indra sacrifice, which they were going to worship Indra, the demigod who was in charge of the weather, rain, sky, all that stuff. Yeah. But as a matter of etiquette, he began to inquire with great honor and submission from the elderly persons like Nanda Maharaj. So why does Krishna come to this earth? Why does he come? You know the fourth verse in the fourth chapter? Paritranaya sadhunam, right? Vinashaya duskritam, you know this. Yeah, to deliver his devotees. So here he's delivering his devotees in this pastime. How is he delivering his devotees? Well, there's going to be many ways, but the first way is he's going to stop them from worshiping a demigod. He's going to stop them from worshiping that's because it was unnecessary. Now think about that. Krishna himself is doing it. Stop them from worshiping the demigod. So here Krishna asks his father, my dear father, what is this arrangement going on for the sacrifice? What is the result of the sacrifice and for whom is it meant? How is it performed? Will you kindly let me know? I am very eager to know this procedure, so please explain it to me. Upon his inquiry, Nanda Maharaj, his father, remained silent, thinking this young boy could not understand the intricacies of this ceremony. But Krishna persisted, my dear father, for those who are liberal and saintly, there is no secrecy. They do not think that anyone should be a friend or an enemy or a neutral party because they are always open to everyone. And even for those who are not so liberal, nothing should be kept secret from the family members and friends. Although secrecy may be maintained for persons who are inimical, therefore, you cannot keep these secrets from me. All persons are engaged in fruitive activities, so know what these activities and the purposes are, and other persons who do not know what they know, do not act with full knowledge, and therefore they won't get a very good result. Therefore, please tell me the purpose of this sacrifice you're about to perform. Kindly let me know in detail about the purpose of this sacrifice. So then on hearing the inquiry of Krishna this time, Nanda Maharaj, he said, well, actually, we're cowherd people, and we depend on the rain. And the rain is coming from the kindness of Indra, demigod. So actually the ceremony we're performing is more or less tradition. Tradition. Now this is very interesting. This is very interesting.
Is that how we really felt with tradition, or did they feel like they had to?
Well, they're not exclusive. Just like, people in this country, there are certain traditions, and there's certain traditions in various countries, and various ethnicities have various traditions. And if we don't know the purpose or the reason for that tradition, why do it? You wonder. Like, for example, here we have in this country, very soon we'll have a tradition of killing a bird and eating the flesh. What's the purpose of that tradition? Or, there's so many, you have St. Patrick's Day in this country. St. Patrick's Day, when is that? What month is that? March, okay. And so what do people do on St. Patrick's Day? Hardly. They get drunk. And it's not that St. Patrick said to get drunk or that St. Patrick got drunk, but so there's certain traditions that people have, and there's a pressure to follow those traditions, but the real meaning and the purpose of the traditions over time has been lost, and they're not really beneficial to anyone. So soon there'll be a tradition to chop a tree down and decorate the tree in this country, or to give gifts, purpose of giving. But what's the purpose of that tradition? Actually, as you said, the purpose of all these traditions really, it's not for anything spiritual or divine, but it's for satisfying the senses of the body. And that tradition, it's a very, very well ingrained tradition, is a tradition that will keep us bound to the material world, life after life. So that's why Krishna is inquiring here. What is the purpose of this tradition that you're following? Is it something that's going to be beneficial? Is it something that's going to help you advance in your spiritual life? Or is it something that's just, we do just because people tell us we should do it? So we should see the difference. And in India, there's also traditions. Many traditions are there. Usually, I'm just looking here. A very strong tradition in India, as you might know, is to worship all the gods. Isn't it? To worship all the gods. Very strong. In fact, when we first opened, the big temple in New York, there was many people. This was like in the middle 70s. Most of you weren't even born at that time. But many, because there was worship of Krishna. Many Indian people also came, and that was the first kind of wave of immigration from India to the United States. But there was a few people that said, you people, you worship Krishna, only Krishna. And that makes me mad, damn mad.
Oh my God.
And so they started their own temple where they could worship all the gods. It's a true story. So it's a very strong tradition. You'll worship Lakshmi for wealth, Lord Shiva for material prosperity, Ganapati for destroying obstacles, Saraswati to get good grades, Indra for rain, etc., etc., etc. So this tradition of trying to placate many gods has become deeply ingrained in the Indian psyche. Although initially a tradition might have some spiritual component of service to God, that purpose is often lost over time. So Krishna, his appearance is to revive the real essence of the tradition, which is to engage in devotional service to God, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And if we do that, then we can enjoy transcendental happiness. So another tradition people accept is that they accept Bhagavad Gita, which Krishna spoke. If people coming from India, that's a very important book, very basic book, but hardly anybody knows what the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita is. So like if you say in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yepi anya devata bhakta yajanti shradeyanvita tepi mam eva konteya yajanti avidi purvakam. Actually, Krishna says worship of other gods is really, that worship is really meant for me, but is offered improperly, perverted. We just got a letter the other day from a person who was very angry that the Krishna consciousness movement encourages only service to Krishna and not to the various demigods. That means that person has never understood Bhagavad Gita, because Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kamais taista rita jnana prapadyante anya devata. People who are worshiping other gods, kamais taista rita jnana. Rita jnana means their knowledge has been perverted. Their understanding has been perverted. Usually, if you want to worship, there's a particular god, demigod you can worship if you want to eat meat. Kali, you worship Kali if you want to eat meat. But eating of meat will be very detrimental to your spiritual life. So therefore, if people worship Kali, what do? They do it at the dark moon night, once a month. Then they kill a goat. And then that goat, they whisper in the ear of the goat, they say, in this life, I will kill you. But in your next life, you will become a man and I will become the goat and you can kill me. That's called mangsha. Ma means me and sa means he. So that's the essence of meat is you're going to suffer that way, that slaughter in your next life. So is this something beneficial? A smart person will realize, why should I become a goat or an animal in my next life? Let me stop this business. Yeah. So kama is taishtarita jnana prapadyante anya devata. So Lord Krishna is appearing because even his own family members, they were becoming distracted to worship other gods. So Nanda Maharaj says, he said, okay, this sounds, so Krishna said, he gave some good reasoning, his good arguments about why Nanda Maharaj shouldn't worship Indra. They said, well, he said, have you ever been to the ocean? You ever taken an ocean cruise? People, you like to take cruise? You come on the ocean? And on the ocean, it's raining. It rains on the ocean. And nobody's performing sacrifice in the middle of the ocean. So why do you don't have to perform any sacrifice. It's raining in the ocean. And look, get this. Even if there is some God, this is Krishna's thing, that Krishna's God. Krishna says, even if there is some God, God is bound to give you the results of your karma. It's something like, some people take God as like a watchmaker, and a watchmaker will manufacture the watch, and you turn the watch on, or you wind the watch up, and it just goes automatically according to the preset condition. The watchmaker doesn't intervene to make the watch go. It goes automatically. Similarly, many people believe God is like that. It's just things are happening automatically by karma, and so you're going to get your karma anyway. So what's the big deal? Why do you have to? You don't have to worship Indra to get any results of your activities. So Nanda Maharaj, you know what Nanda Maharaj said? He said, okay, all right. He said, what we'll do is we'll do two sacrifices. We'll do one for Indra, and we'll do. Oh, so I forgot to say. So Krishna said, instead of worshiping Indra, worship Govardhana Hill. Worship Govardhana Hill. This is very interesting. You know what Govardhan means? Govardhan means? Go means cow, and Vardhan means one who enlivens or gives great pleasure and happiness to cows. So Krishna said, we're cowherd people. We're cowboys and cargoes, right? We're cowherd people, and we depend so much on the cows. And Govardhan Hill is such a nice hill because the fresh grasses that grow there and the water that flows there is giving so much pleasure to the cow. So we should give our respects to Govardhan Hill and not forget about Indra. No, not necessary. So Nanda Maharaj says, okay, I hear what you're saying. Okay, yeah. Here what we'll do. We'll do a separate sacrifice for Govardhan Hill, and we'll do one for Indra also. How's that? Compromise. make everybody happy. But Krishna said, no, no time, no time, no time, time. He said, because in this age of Kali, this current age, we don't have time. Our lives are very short and we have very little resources. We can't get distracted from things that aren't going to be to our ultimate benefit. So Krishna said, we won't have time. We don't have the resources. Use whatever resources you have to do the Govardhan Puja. Govardhan Puja. That's what I recommend for you. So finally, Nanda Maharaj relented. And all the residents of Vrindavan, they got together, and we'll read this. Nanda Maharaj finally relented. The cowherd men then inquired from Krishna how he wanted the yajna performed. And Krishna gave the following directions. Now, this is very interesting because there's lots of ceremonies, there's lots of celebrations, religious and stuff like that you perform. But where do you get one that's the directions are given directly by God? You find any? I mean, did Jesus Christ say to observe Christmas? We don't have any information. Did Lord Krishna say observe Janmashtami? But here he's saying this you have to observe this ceremony. He's telling us how. Prepare very nice foodstuffs of all descriptions from the grain and ghee collected from the yajna. We have here. That's what we have here. Prepare. Now he gives some details. Prepare rice. What do you call it? Bhat? Anna. Okay. Dal. Halwa, pakora, puri, rabri, gulab jamun, sandesh, rasagulla, and laddu. He's giving directions. So you'll find that we have all those things there because we try to follow the directions, right? And invite everyone, including the learned Brahmins, who can chant the Vedic hymns and offer oblation to the fire. The Brahmin should be given grain in charity, then decorate all the cows and feed them. Oh, they're gonna set up now on those little stages, those steps. They're gonna put the 108 offerings there. Are you gonna close the curtain? Okay. Hare Krishna. Shri Govardhana ki as far as the lower animals are concerned, such as dogs and lower grades of people, such as the chandalas, who are considered untouchable, they also must be given sumptuous prasadam. After nice grasses have been given to the cows, the sacrifice known as Govardhan Puja may immediately begin. This sacrifice will very much satisfy me. In this statement, Lord Krishna practically described the whole economy of the Vaishya community in all communities in human society, including Brahmins, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, Shudras, and Chandalas, and even in the animal kingdom, including cows, dogs, goats. Everyone has a part to play. Each is to work in cooperation for the total benefit of all society, which includes not only animate objects, but also inanimate objects like hills and land. Ecology. The Vaishya community is specifically responsible for economic development of the society by producing grains, by giving protection to cows, and by transporting food when needed, and by banking and finance. From this statement, we learn that although the cats and dogs, which are now become so important, are not to be neglected, cow protection is actually more important than protection of cats and dogs. Another hint we get from this statement is that the chandalas, or untouchables, are also not to be neglected by the higher classes, but should be given necessary protection. Everyone is important. but some are directly responsible for the advancement of human society, and some are only indirectly responsible. However, when Krishna consciousness is there, everyone's total benefit is taken care of. The sacrifice known as Govardhan Puja is observed in this Krishna consciousness movement. Lord Chaitanya has recommended that since Krishna is worshipable, so is his land, Vrindavan, and Govardhan Hill is also worshipable. To confirm this statement, Lord Krishna said that Govardhan Hill Puja is as good as worship of him. And from that day, Govardhan Puja has been going on and is known as Annakutta. In the temples, in and outside of Vrindavan, huge quantities of food are prepared in the ceremony and are very sumptuously distributed to the general population. Sometimes food is thrown to the crowds and they enjoy collecting it off the ground. From this, we can understand that prasadam, food offered to Krishna, never becomes contaminated, even if it is thrown on the ground. The people therefore collect and eat it with great satisfaction. So then they did this. For the residents of Vrindavan, they all made huge quantities of foodstuff. And then they brought it for offering to Govardhan Hill. And as they were just about to offer this food to the Govardhan Hill, you know what happened? Huh? Krishna manifested a huge form, and he said, I am Govardhan Hill. I am Govardhan Hill. And so then Krishna, separately constituted, offers obeisances to the gigantic form of Krishna. And so the residents of Vrindavan, they offered all the food to Govardhan Hill, and they circumambulated, they did parikrama. They put the cows in the front, and you know what they did as they were going around the Govardhan Hill, which takes about 6 hours? They chanted the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. This is how they performed the sacrifice. Now, people might have a little hard time worshiping a hill. I mean, really, really. You've got, people in Japan, they have special reverence for Mount Fuji, right? And in Africa, they have Mount Kilimanjaro. And those who are followers of Hollywood, they have Paramount. And you got it, right? Yeah. If you're following, in the Bible, there was God appeared as a whirlwind to Job, and he appeared as a burning bush to Moses. So God can appear any way he wants to. That's why he's God, right? He can do anything he likes because everything is his energy, is coming from him. Sarvam kalvidam Brahma. Everything is God. Everything is Brahman. Everything is coming from God. So then if everything is God, then we should worship everything, right? No. We should worship everything since everything is God. Well, okay. There's different parts of your body, and there's 9 holes, but only one hole will work if you put the food in. You follow? We put the food in one hole. Not all. You try to put the food here or here, it doesn't work. So similarly, everything may be God, but there's a particular method to worship God, and that's given by Krishna and the spiritual teachers, the acharyas, and that is chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and offering our food to the remnants of food. This is even though everything is God. Well, how is everything God? This is Lord Chaitanya says. His philosophy, Lord Chaitanya, in this teachings that we have, is called Achintya Bed Abed Tattva. Everything is simultaneously one with and different from God. Mayate tamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. That just as the sun and the sunshine are, in one sense, one. But the sunshine and the sun, if the sun were coming in this room, we'd all be burned in a second, less than a second. But if the sunshine comes in, we like that. So everything is the energy of God, but not God directly. But Govardhan Hill, Krishna says, I am God directly. Govardhan Hill, Krishna incarnated as Govardhan Hill. This is amazing. So, for God to do something, to be God, he has to do something pretty amazing, right? I remember when I was a kid, we heard that I've said this story a couple of times. I was a kid, and we heard that the president of the United States was going to come to our town. And everybody was very excited. I was excited. I was wondering, ooh, the president is coming. The president is coming. And so then we all went out to the road, and we had, there's crowds coming. And then this person comes by. I was expecting something very, very wonderful. And it was just a bald guy in a suit. A bald guy in a suit. And that's all the president was. And I was so disappointed because it wasn't very wonderful. But Krishna, God has to be wonderful if he's going to be God, right? So he can do these wonderful things. So then what happened was he stopped the Indra Yajna, he stopped the Indra sacrifice, and guess what happened? Indra, who had been getting these sacrifices regularly according to tradition, he became irritated. And he said, who is this talkative little child, impudent little child who's messing up my sacrifice? Now, think about it. Indra is the Lord of heaven, and he's getting respect from all over the universe. And he is worried he's getting just a little, his offerings are getting a little bit of stopped by this one place in all of the universe, and he gets irritated. This is the nature of us when we become overly attached to our personal gratification. We get in a big position. If we use the big position for a good purpose, for Krishna's service, that's okay. But usually what happens is we get in a big position and it goes to our head. And so we become proud. And this is very interesting. Indra accused Krishna of being proud and arrogant. But actually, who was proud and arrogant? Indra was proud, but he was blaming Krishna as being proud and arrogant. This is very interesting. This is usually what happens. Somebody says, "Oh, that person," it's usually the other way around. But anyway, so what did Indra do? You've heard of Hurricane Maria? Where was that? Hurricane Sandy, Hurricane Andrew. These are all hurricanes, or powerful hurricanes that occurred, in different places. I think Sandy was in New Jersey, and what was the one? Katrina in New Orleans and stuff. Those are powerful storms that caused incredible destruction. Well, Indra had his particular storm ready for this particular purpose, which was even more powerful than all of those other storms. And that storm had a name also. It's like it wasn't Maria or Katrina. It was Samvartika. Samvartika means it can completely destroy things. So Indra was so mad, he wanted to get revenge. This is the mentality. He wanted to get revenge on the residents of Vrindavan for stopping the sacrifice. So he sent Samvartika cloud and his associate, not just Samvartika, but associated clouds, and they went to above Vrindavan, and they were raining, hailing, winds, flood, cold was going on. Terrible. I mean, terrible. So what did Lord Krishna do? He was the one who stopped the sacrifice, so he was responsible, right? He was responsible. So with the little finger of his left hand, he went over to Govardhan Hill and picked it up above his head. There was a little mound, because he was not very tall at the time. 7 years old. Yeah, 7. He lifted it, and people were a little, in the beginning, were a little worried. Well, gosh, he's such a little boy in this mountain. If I go under there, it's going to get splat. No. He said, don't worry. Don't worry. I'll take care of you. I've given my promise to my devotees that I'll take care. So all the residents of Vrindavan, how many were there? Thousands and thousands of thousands came under that umbrella. Now, how long did they stay there in the umbrella? 7 days. And during those 7 days, they didn't feel any heat, any hunger, any thirst by the grace of Krishna. So this Krishna had done all these things to show that your devotees don't have to worship Indra. And it looked like they got into trouble. It looked like they got into trouble, right? But Krishna was so kind that he showed specifically, personally, how to take care, that he takes care of his devotees. You don't have to do anything else but worship and serve him. This is a demonstration of Krishna's final instruction in Bhagavad Gita. Sarva dharman parityaja bam ekam sharanam braja. Give up all other dharmas. You don't need to do any other dharma. No other dharma is required. Mam ekam. Ekam means only. Surrender to worship me. Surrender to me. Do my service. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo. I'll protect you. Masucha. Don't fear. Don't fear. So this is a day when we have the great opportunity to remember this and practice this for today and for the future. And if we do this, how do we do this? Very nicely by offering our food to Krishna, by remembering to chant the holy names of Krishna regularly every day. Then our heart will become cleansed and we'll become very happy. And at the end of this life, we'll be able to go back home, back to God. And Krishna himself says, Janma karma cha me devyam evam yoveti tatvata chaktva deham punarjanma naiti. If you can understand these truths about me, these activities that I'm doing, you can, when you finish this body, you can go back to the eternal spiritual world. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna. I think something's supposed to happen now. I don't know what. Oh, remember, if you don't have a Krishna book, you get one book, Krishna book today, $1. If you don't have one. Okay. Any question or comment or something? Yes, sir. Oh, Dave. Hare Krishna.
That time, Krishna told everybody that Govardhana is our livelihood, and is giving all our food and livelihood of everything provided by the Govardhana. So what we have to do it in this life now, and this one we're going to be doing it as a Govardhana for us, or we just follow this thing from that time.
Krishna was using arguments to get people to worship Govardhan because Govardhan was Krishna. He wanted to encourage people to worship him. Although, because he was in a relationship with his father and others, he didn't want to do it directly. Just like you see this picture here behind? It's Mother Yashoda looking in Krishna's mouth. And so Mother Yashoda, nobody can be the father or mother of God. But the father and mother of God is always a devotee. Nobody can be the father and mother of God because God is the source of everything. So, but because she serves him in that mentality, in order to preserve that mentality, when she looked inside of Krishna's mouth and saw all the universes there and herself there, you know what she did? Close the mouth. I can't deal with it. Because it maintained her relationship as wanting to serve her son. Yeah. So in a similar way, Krishna didn't want to advertise, even though he's lifting Govardhan Hill, he didn't advertise worship me, but he said, worship Govardhan Hill. And then he accepted himself. He represented himself as Govardhan. So it was an indirect way for Krishna to have his devotees worship him directly. And we do that too. Even though we don't get grass or water from Govardhan, still you can worship Krishna that way. Hare Krishna. Giri Govardhan ki jai. Giridhari ki jai. Thank you for listening. Thank you very much for listening. Even, I'm not sure what's supposed to happen. Do you know what's supposed to happen? Okay. Question. Good.
What is the best method to reveal to a non-devotee that their creator, which we all know to be Lord Krishna,
describe the direct worship of himself to them? Like, what is the best method to reveal to them that God or Lord Krishna wants all the living entities to worship him?
Your question is, what is the best method to influence people to help them understand that they should worship, they can worship God? Best method is your own example. People will see that you are happy when you do. Or if not you, then an exemplary person like Srila Prabhupada, how he did it, and what the result and benefit is. Of course, you can also encourage them to chant the Hare Krishna mantra, and if they do, they'll begin to get some spiritual experience. So the proof of the pudding is in the taste. So different things. I mean, people are different, and it depends on your relationship with that person. So if like you're trying to tell your older brother that way, they don't listen to you very much usually. At least my older siblings don't listen to me. But depending how it is. Hare Krishna. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Is excessive association with non-devotees frowned upon?
Depends on how you're associating. If you're intimately associating, when you intimately associate with anybody, you naturally develop their attitudes and interests. But if you're associating with an idea to try to encourage them in spiritual life, that's okay. You won't be affected by that. But I used to have to deal with people who are, had drug and alcohol problems. And, they come out of jail, and before they went to jail, they were addicted to cocaine or whatever. And so they had been clean in jail. And then they said, come out, I have no interest. I've been clean for 2 years or 5 years or 10 years. And so they come out and they said, but I want to visit my friend I went to see my friend who was in the bar. I went to visit my friend who's in the bar. And in 2 weeks, the person is off. But because to associate in a negative way is going to cause the downfall. But if you associate in a way that can be helpful for them, then you'll be immunized from that. Good time. What's happening now?
Continue to do some more kirtan.
Okay, kirtan.
Or the deity doors will open at 6 o'clock.
Oh, it's 6 o'clock. It's past 6 o'clock now.
Or close to 6 o'clock.
Okay.
As soon as they move everything.
All the offerings. How many offerings?
Krishna knows.
Okay, lots.
Yeah,
Like for Govardhan Hill, Govardhan Puja. Okay.
The thing is, more people will be coming.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the idea is that if you've been here for some time, we want to allow for
Okay.
the transition to the next group of people.
How do you circumambulate Govardhan? This is Giriraj on the hill. Look, Sangeet and Vamadev brought the Govardhan Shila. Govardhan Shila is a piece of stone from Govardhan Hill, which is as good as Govardhan Hill. So how do the people circumambulate, just like the residents of Vrindavan? How do they circumambulate when they come there?
You want to go, can I do a demo?
Yeah, come on. Thank you.
So even though some people that came in, they left because the deity doors were closed, and they didn't think that they didn't know necessarily this would be as beneficial. But according to your class, this is as beneficial. This is not different than Krishna.
Yes.
So the circumambulate will come this way. First offer respects to Srila Prabhupada. And then the circumambulate like this. Try not to turn your back to the deities once the deity doors are open.
How many times around can we go?
Depending on the crowd. So if we have a lot of, if there's a long line back, one time is sufficient, but you can do 3 times. If there's not a lot of people, you can do as many times as you like. And then exit your gate.
Okay. Are there a lot of people waiting outside?
Well, we know how it goes. It's hard not to, there are some people, but then people come at different times. Usually people come in waves.
Okay.
So, well, because tonight is a night, it's a festival night, we can only fit so many people in here, as we mentioned before. We want to kind of transition. Some people came for the first part of the program, and then some people usually come for the second part of the program. We just have to manage it that way, just in order to control the crowd. So, I mean, if you have been here, say, since the 4 o'clock, 4:30 arti, and chanting, there'll be prasadam. If you order prasadam, that'll be available. Or if you want to wait outside and allow other people to come in, and then maybe a little bit later come back in. And when I say outside, I don't mean out in the lobby, because then that gets crowded, and then I mean outside of the elements. And then if you want to come back in again, we're doing our best. It's not that we want to tell people, no, you should leave. That's not the spirit at all that we're trying to do. It's actually the spirit of inclusion, trying to get as many people in here and to be able to circumvent the deities and circumvent the govardhana hill and take our deities and give the kirtan. Did everybody enjoy the class from Vishnu Gadapuru?
Hare Krishna.
So I wanted to mention that we have 2 sponsors tonight for the program, for the feast. The first is Manju.
Right here.
She recently had a grandson. What's your grandson's name? Kalen Mohan. So Kalen Mohan, this is being sponsored in his honor. So we want to please offer our blessings to Kalen Mohan for a happy, healthy, and Krishna conscious life. So please join me, raise your hands, and chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, Manju. The second is Himani. Her and her family sponsored this program as well for the blessings during Kartik of the devotees and the Supreme Lord. So in the same way, please let us offer our prayers to their family as well.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare.
So we'll do a couple things coming up this week. This coming Wednesday is the disappearance day of our founder Acharya, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. This is the day in 1977 that he departed from this material world. So the devotees come together and honor his legacy on this particular day. There'll be a morning program that begins at 10 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Now that class, that program will be available over YouTube if you want to watch it remotely at home. There'll be a limited number of people that can come here to the temple program. There's a sign-up sheet. And that sign-up sheet, you do it 2 ways. One for the newsletter, you can sign up, or you can sign up at info@iskanaphiladelphia.com. You can email. 2 ways to reserve. You cannot just show up and say, hey, they always know me, I always come, I don't have to reserve, it's okay. That won't work on this particular day. So we're trying to make it organized, we're trying to make it a nice offering for Srila Prabhupada. So please, if you are interested in coming now, there is kind of a cap to it. So if you don't do it quickly, you might not get in. But if you are interested in physically coming here, don't wait for that day and just show up and say, hey, I was in the neighborhood. You guys know me, right? Please sign up. Please help us do our best part in that particular situation. Wednesday night, if you're unable to, or if you are able to come during the daytime, but if you're unable to and you want to come at night, we have a special presentation by His Grace Sureshwar Prabhu. That'll be at 6:30 over our ISKCON Philadelphia Zoom channel. It's a wonderful presentation on the prominent position of Srila Prabhupada as the founder Acharya. There are many saints in this world, there are many gurus. There is only one person that has done what Srila Prabhupada has done. And he has a specific position that we want to hear about and glorify about his life. So please tune in to that at 6:30. Every night, if you'd like to come, offer a candle as part of the Kartik month. The hours are 6:30 to 8 o'clock. Okay, that is, one last thing. When circumambulating the hill, you don't have any signs that say do not touch. But imagine there's a sign that says do not touch. On top of the hill, we have the Govardhana Shilas, Krishna and Balaram. Their caretakers, Mother Sangeeta and Vamanadev Prabhu, graciously brought them here to be with us tonight, so we want to thank them. But please, be very respectful. Don't take anything from the hill. There'll be a puja for the hill roughly at 6:30. At that time, there are some people that have been assigned to remove at that time it'll be prasadam from the hill, pack it, and then distribute it. If you have not been asked by somebody that's been assigned, please don't take the liberty and just take the stuff off. Because you may see a couple people taking things off. You may want to quote that. So if you haven't been assigned, just patiently wait, and there'll be enough prasadam for everybody. Any questions about that? All right, so we'll have some kirtan. And if you'd like to circumambulate the hill, please do so before you leave. I hope that wasn't too hard. Sometimes I feel bad. I'm kind of like laying out the rules here. But we are very thankful that everybody has come. We want this to be a joyous occasion. Hare Krishna.
Did I move this?
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Hare Rama Rama Krishna Krishna
Shall
Rama
Hare Ram,
Anybody who would like to circumambulate, who hasn't circumambulated the hill, you can do it now.
Jaya Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan,
Jaya Radhe.
Jaya Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jaya Vrindavan. Jai Krishna, Jaya Shri Govinda, Govinda. Jaya Hare Krishna, Giri Govardhan ki, Govardhan Puja ki. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight for this wonderful festival. As you leave, please do us a favor and use hand sanitizer as you leave, just to make sure you're sanitized as you go. We have prasad here that's being packed, that will be brought to you. I wanted to ask, did everybody see the new outfit with the ladies who ran tonight? What did you think of it? What was this one? Anyway, the ladies had a wonderful, beautiful new outfit, and the outfit, if anybody would like to sponsor it, is still available. If somebody would like to sponsor the outfit for today for Puja. If interested, please come see me. And again, we want to just thank you for having your side around the way to take it. Hare Krishna.
Because we couldn't wait for it to be offered here. Because we can't have ले जाओ उसके बाद आप ये लेके जाओ मारो want cupcakes? Cupcakes? One here. Take one each for the weekend share. Do you want cupcake? You want cupcake for your daughter? Oh, right. Yeah.
Krishna. What time? You don't work on Sunday, do you? You work Sunday.
Yes.
Friday.
Sorry, हो गया लेकिन प्रसाद है. I know. I know, Prashad. I know. Good.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
श्वेता जी कुछ गिरे नहीं इसलिए कुछ प्लास्टिक बैग हो गया
छोटे छोटे हैं.
अच्छा ओके कोई बात नहीं ठीक बात
ये हलवा भी बना सकते हैं चलेंगे.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Around this one. Around, yeah, on the top, yeah. Right there, yeah, that's the one. Whatever it is. Can I have that one in the
What do you want? Your dad likes this coconut.
Coconut?
Yeah, every year he takes it.
Yeah, he likes to see that. Look at that.
Hey, where are you going? Take it.
I'm right here. No, I have enough.
No. He likes this.
No, it's fine. He already has it.
His dad, Darshan Prabhu. नहीं उनको तो
एक काम करो मेरे को ये वाला दे दो वो वाला जो है ना पेड़े है तो ग्रीन कलर हाँ वो तो मुझे भी चाहिए ऊपर हाँ सब वो दे दो
नहीं बट ये भी लेना है because he like it. ये ना उसका
अच्छा ये प्रॉब्लम
जीरो जो है ये जीरो जो है
अरे हो अच्छा what is this thing you do ये किला बनाया है या क्या
ये किला बनाया है माता जी ये किस चीज का So you have to ask them. No, tell them that I asked you. What can I give you? Can I give you more? There's so much. There's so much. I can give you that. The grass is yes. I was like, I might back up all this. Back and do halwa. How do you make it? माता जी, वो हलवा? हलवा? Big softer man, that line.
Yeah. There 20 bucks left.
I'll come. Prabhu, should we end it?